Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the I'll Try That podcast. I'm Matthew Barber. Joining me once again are the wonderful Richard Drabwell.
Hello.
And the inimitable Joseph Druitt.
Hi.
So, thanks for coming along. Our pursuit of hoppiness this week is we're heading down, down, depending where you are, I suppose, to Bristol, and we're talking about Lost and Grounded Brewery, who I suppose for some people are probably fairly familiar, but they're a 2016 established brewery, so they make waves in particularly this part of the West Country that I live in, but they are sort of found further afield as well, but more on that in due course. And sorry, who am I passing to for the hop topic?
Me.
Carry on.
Cool. So as we are currently recording, it is the summer holidays for a lot of people. So not that we have had
most
much
of all children.
Summer. I was going to say yes, but it's not as though we've had much of a summer this year. I walked to work yesterday in the rain, which was slightly upsetting. But this takes us to, so probably a very British tradition more than anything. When you go to an airport and once you've checked in and you've gone all the way through, what is the first thing most Brits do?
Go to the duty free.
Duty free, yes. Look at sunglasses and spray perfume they're not going to buy. What else?
Spend £9 on a £3 sandwich.
£9 on a £3 sandwich, most definitely. But what do we all love to do the most?
I know. I bet I know.
Have a...
Can you have a 5 a.m. airport beer even if your flight takes off at 11?
Oh, well, yeah, you can have beer any time of the day in an airport because, like,
that's
time
what they're
doesn't
for.
exist
I was
in
going to
airports.
say,
Does
airports
it
are
really?
those magical things where you're already on holiday and it doesn't matter.
Well, that's it, yeah.
Weirdly, little side story. I flew somewhere from Gatwick once, and we got in there at 4:45 for like a and there were people doing the airport beer, which actually I do partake into for part of the bonhomie or whatever, the camaraderie. But I remember just sitting across from us was a lady on her own reading a book with a large glass of red wine at 4:45 in the morning. I don't always fancy the beer at that time. One of the things I would fancy the least would be a large glass of red wine if I'd woken up at 3 and I'm getting on a plane at 6. Yeah,
I must
not
admit,
me,
with
that.
my frequent flying that I do for work, I've become less accustomed to the beer at the airport, just because of, on business, work, whatever, it's less of a thing, cracking up with colleagues, and you just go and open it and go, should we go to the pub, at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's before you get your flight, before your meeting. So I have become less accustomed to a drinky poos at the airport, but no, certainly in the right occasion. Maybe it's the right time of day, but it's more with the situation with who I'm travelling with. I'd be well up for it.
Well, I just think I'm not driving the plane, so it's okay.
That's a very fair comment. Yeah.
Yeah. But coming back from all of this, so we will go. So 7 brothers who we've spoken to before, and thoroughly enjoy their beers, have created a beer that is called On the Beach. That is supposedly you can drink before getting on your flight, because it pairs well with egg, bacon, and sausage. So that is, when you're in the morning, you're having your Wetherspoons breakfast.
What is said beer? What's the base of it? Is it a lager?
Brown sauce.
Yeah. Is it treacle? I don't know.
So it's a 3.4%, brewed by 7 Brothers Brewing Co. and has been crafted to sit pre-departure with breakfast. I can't actually see. It doesn't say in the article what kind of beer it is.
It's probably brown sauce, as Barbara said. Actually, that's probably quite
okay. But they
brown sauce Nipah.
Yeah. When on the beach. Oh no. So sorry. So when on the beach is a sorry, I've got so even better. A package holiday company has asked them to create this, and the package holiday company is called When on the Beach, which is even better. So they've asked them, a package holiday company has asked them to create this beer for them to be able to give out on holiday before flying.
Imagine that. Going through your pre-departure checklist. Yeah, got your ATOL certificate. Yeah, you got your boarding pass. Yeah, got your passport. Yeah, have you got your fried breakfast and a pint? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Barbara, you work in the travel industry. Do you think this should be something you might start introducing to your clientele?
I somewhat doubt it.
No, they'd be more inclined for that large red wine, wouldn't they, Barbara?
Yeah.
I couldn't possibly comment.
Right, so On the Beach is the company, and it's called the Breakfast Brew. Right, okay, and it is, as you said, it is doesn't even say what it's actually called. It's just called a breakfast brew. Oh, God.
Are you sure it's not a cup of tea in a can and they've just told you it's got alcohol in it?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. The breakfast brew is a good name. And then but
To be fair, I could corner in a market, isn't it?
Yeah, no one. Yeah, there's not been a beer that has been advertised that you drink it in the morning. We were talking about it earlier, but Erdinger, you drink after you've had a run.
Well, only the pro athletes drink Erdinger.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but I've never heard a beer advertised. Yeah, you've got to drink this in the morning.
It sounds to me like an idea that shouldn't have gotten out of the brainstorming phase, but just someone went, yeah, all right.
Well, someone being seven brothers getting together in a room and deciding what would be a good idea.
Yeah.
As much as we admire them, they're doing an amazing job, but that is only an idea that seven brothers sat together would come up with, if I'm quite honest.
I like to think they were just it was probably a breakfast meeting as well.
early doors instead of coffees.
Early doors.
Yeah.
I would be interested to see their view on what they're pairing with Eggs Benedict if they were gonna.
That's got to be a bit of fizz, isn't it?
Yeah.
But like that's probably what. So this is what seven brothers had come up with. If it was like seven dads brewing, they'd have like the ultimate beer to drink while grilling something.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
That's
I think that's what we should do,
because the ultimate rosé infused beer.
Yeah. See, and that's what I think beer companies should be doing more, targeting the actual activity, because you have all of they target the food that you're going to be eating with it and everything like that. I think you need to target the activity more and what this beverage is going to be, like Erdinger in sports.
I'm just keep going back to Erdinger in sports.
Yeah.
I could do with a beer that is tailored for me to drink while watching my favourite sports teams. So a beer that actually is enhanced by my tears dropping into the beer as I drink it. Something that sort of could take on that salty, hot tear.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, like a beer to watch TV to. But it somehow enhances the experience.
There you go. That's the new direction.
There is a range of CBD infused beers. I think that's probably
that's it.
THC ones in the US. But no,
you're stuck on your sofa with that.
I think we can keep workshopping it, guys. I reckon we can do as well. If we keep going like this for a while, we might be able to come up with an idea as good as the Breakfast Brew by Seven Brothers. But yeah, no, an interesting concept, and obviously a good way of raising awareness in collaboration with On the Beach, which I had not heard of before, and now I have. So there you go. They've done their job.
Right. So shall I tell you about Lost and Grounded?
Yes, I must admit I don't know anything about Lost and Grounded.
Frankly, my cup does not runneth over with knowledge. I've sort of, they're kind of our brewery I've been aware of for a while, but have not partaken of extensively. But I happened to be in a pub not far from me, in a sort of good dog walking spot recently. And again, in keeping with talking sort of summer holidaysy, nice, warm, sunny day. It is a pub sort of over towards Stroud Way, which is I'm sorry to be a little bit on the nose about it, but for a lot of people, Stroud is associated with posh hippies.
I didn't know that reputation, but that's hilarious.
And well, there's lots of very. So one word I have heard used to describe people of Stroud is a little bit bohemian. I think there's like a big like support for Green Party there and that sort of thing. But I'm digressing. I don't really quite know what the relevance of this,
I'm not sure.
information is in many ways.
You're just bringing up some local Gloucestershire like rivalry or dissing. That's,
There is no rivalry. We're all friends in Gloucestershire. But at this pub, it was really nice, and it was a low percentage beer. So I mean, low, certainly under 4. But I had a Lost and Grounded. Actually, I've been looking around for it because it's not one of their core range, as far as I'm aware. But it was called, I'm pretty sure, Extra Dry Lager.
nice. Okay.
And I looked at it and I thought, I'm not sure that that's what I want. And a lot of the usual suspects were there anyway, and a couple of car scales as well. And I went, no, we'll go with that. That was it. Of the usual suspects, Asahi, I think Super Dry was on there, which Charlie had, and I had this Extra Dry Lager from Lost and Grounded, and possibly the timing and the context of where I was and the sort of day that it was, but it really, really hit the spot. I absolutely loved it. And I've known about Lost and Grounded as being a Bristol-based brewery for some time, and I think we're basically long overdue a good look at them. They've been around since 2016, and in keeping with, I think we've said numerous times on this podcast about lager being back. Really, as much as they are,
Is it?
They are a craft brewer, but sort of. Lager is kind of their raison d'etre, shall we say. They are try and do some nice variations on lagers. They do all sorts of other stuff as well. For instance, throwing away one throwaway example of iced coffee pale ale being one. But I'm currently drinking. I don't know if you can see this lovely light yellowy golden coloured golden hue. Is their sort of flagship beer, which is it's the Keller Pills. So I've got the Keller Pills. I also picked up their Hells, and what was the other one? Wanna Go to the Sun, which is their pale ale. And I think you have to try Keller Pills to really get what I'm talking about here. Really bitter and really hoppy. And for that reason, it's a little bit of an unusual choice, in my opinion, for what is, as they describe, their sort of flagship beer. But it's really good. Really good. And I basically encourage everyone to try it, basically. Had you guys come across them much before as well?
So I was, when you mentioned it, I was thinking, and then when I googled and I took a look at them, the logo sticks out. I've definitely tried their stuff, but it was a little while ago now, and so I can't really comment on if I remember enjoying it, but I remember I'm really enjoying the logo.
It's one of those brands where I when you said, I've got some Lost and Grounded, I was like, I know Lost and Grounded. And then I've now looked at Lost and Grounded. I've gone, I don't know anything about Lost and Grounded. So it's almost maybe like to batter Travis's point, that maybe I'd like recognise Lost and Grounded's logo or something about them, like from a design aesthetic. I'm like, okay, I've logged them in the back of my mind, but I've never actually had a Lost and Grounded beer to my detriment, because it sounds brilliant. And I'm looking at the vast array of different designs on their cans, loving life of what I'm seeing here. Very colourful. I love the illustration style they've got over there. Very cool. Do you know anything about this like
about
brand?
them and what they do?
Design?
Yeah. So not much about the design. I know that they've this whole, to extend the point about the thank you Wes for the kiss, that was kind. with the focus on lager, I know that sort of it was one thing they're really passionate about, and they wanted to have a good go at it. And actually, I quite like sort of the ethos that underpins it, because the point about lager is it's almost taken for granted that, I don't think, because there's so much of it about, is people often lose track of how much work goes into making a really good lager. They get their malts from Germany and Belgium. And, today I learned this is a thing. Their state-of-the-art brew house also has a traditional lactic acid propagation plant, which is to do with how the Germans apparently a long time ago used to try to used it as a method of adjusting acidity. So they're all, really nicely balanced lagers with a bit more going on. So it's not the thing to remember, I suppose, is that though they are lagers, this is not your run-of-the-mill. When I said the usual suspects lagers that you'll see on normal tap arrays in bars, this is lager elevated.
Craft lager.
Well, it's also like, you're right, it's not the usual stuff. I mean, even just the fact they've gone Hells, it's their take on it with an unfiltered lager beer. So the fact this is unfiltered is quite interesting. They've got a red ale, which is not, I know it's popular, but you don't see that every day. A brand doing, a beer company doing a red ale. They're doing an India Pale Lager, which we have come across India Pale Lagers before, but not, it's not a staple. Not everyone does one. A hot bitter lager beer, they're Killer Pales that you've been having, Barbs, and a farmhouse ale. We've come across farmhouse before, haven't we? But that's also quite niche.
We've only recently come across the farmhouse, haven't we? Who was
South
that?
African
Who was that brewery?
Yes, which was outstanding.
That was it.
That was incredible,
stunning.
Yeah.
Oh, I tried that separately, and that was something else.
Yeah,
that was like. We should definitely get some more of that. But back to
these guys. So yes, they're doing lager variants, as you were saying, Bowles. But by God, they're doing different sounding ones, right?
Couple of West Coast IPAs. There's a black lager in there that they've had a go at as well. So you almost want to describe them as doing something other than lager, even though that is technically what they do. You know that for some people, saying they specialise in lager almost has a connotation of almost being a bit bland, middle of the road. But it's like, sorry, this is a phrase it's a word that keeps getting used at work, and now I'm using it as well. It's elevating lager, in my opinion. But they're also, we mentioned also Dea recently. To me, I've not been to Lost and Grounded tap room or anything like that, but there's a lot of similarities in from my experience of the Dea tap room there. I think it's quite a hit in the local community. And they've also had a bit of a focus on some of their employer practices as well. So I think they're like a living wage employer as well. So
I'm not surprised that they're very vocal about certain areas of topics of conversation, like the women encouraging women within brewers and the beer industry and being supportive of the beevolution, which I quite like that word. I've never heard that before, but beevolution or however they pronounce it, and also being all about equality and equity within business in brewery the industry as well. So very vocal, and not to be. They sound like they very much come from that Bristol heartland, which we know quite well, of very quick to and right to stand up for things. So I like that. They definitely tick that craft brewer within Bristol vibe for me.
A little note I was also going to make on the price. To be honest, it's not a massive revelation. I think a can of this, the Keller pills they had, I think they normally say is about £3.40, whereas actually, to be honest, I was going to say that's fairly standard, but actually that's probably in my, based on my more recent experiences, that's quite well priced, I'd say, actually. I think a lot of crafty stuff that I seem to be able to lay my hands on these days is comfortably over the £4 mark. So they're also making a case of making good crafty type beers just a little bit more accessible too.
Throw some numbers at you. Instagram, Lost and Grounded Brewers, have 16.6k followers. I can give you the X because they've got it. They've got Lost and Grounded is 10.9k followers, and Untapped, Lost and Grounded Brewers have got a 3.57 rating out of 5 with 121,000 ratings. So people like to be reviewing these guys. That is a lot of beer reviews.
That is a lot, yeah.
That's an astonishing amount.
Speaking frankly, I've nearly finished the Keller Pils. And the last beer I tried, I said I really was not reaching for another one. As I was drinking it, this I'm already eyeing up the next one, but unfortunately I only bought one of each. So I've got this, the Hells and the Pale Ale, and I can think of no higher praise than I'm drinking.
You want some more? I definitely going to try them out. This is you've sold me. Yes, I'm in.
Thoroughly. In fact, you know what? Oh, big talk. This is possibly in my running for one of my beers of the year.
Oh, that's a big accolade.
One of my beers of the year, and I think we mentioned it before. I would probably try and keep to under 5 to talk about when we do a summary at the end of the year. But I'm tempted to say it's an early call in August. Well, I'm sure I've probably actually mentioned another beer recently as well, but since the start of the year. But I think that's going in one of my beers of the year.
And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe, Rich,
Barber,
and Simo,
goodbye. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter, I'll try that podcast.com,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now.